Hello friends, CowboyJobu here at the Jobu Sports Report. And as always, thank you guys for watching, commenting, and subscribing to the Jobu Sports Report. And if you haven't subscribed yet, click on the picture of me and Sean Lee there so that way you can be part of spreading the Dallas Cowboy mojo. This is really hard for me, guys. By now, you've all heard about Stephen A. Smith assaulting me. I wanted to keep it a secret, but we'll talk about that more later. And it's really difficult for me to watch the show. But today, they're talking about Ezekiel Elliott's friend who was busted for going into the club with a gun. And it's very important to talk about this. So let's roll the tape. And we'll have more about Stephen A. Smith assaulting me at the Super Bowl
Ezekiel
later
Elliott
on.
was in the middle of a police incident at an Ohio bar over the weekend. His best friend was getting arrested for bringing a loaded gun to the place. TMZ Sports posted a video of Ezekiel speaking with cops in front of the bar on Friday night, and while he was not detained, arrested, or accused of any wrongdoing, law enforcement sources told TMZ that his friend tried to name drop, claiming that Ezekiel's his brother. Zeke is still under investigation, keep in mind, by the NFL for domestic violence allegations. We now welcome Will Kane to the show. Will, how we doing?
Well.
Let's get into your team here. Are you concerned about Zeke's off-the-field issues?
Yeah, I am. I am concerned, but that's exactly the right word. I'm concerned because I care. And the list is getting long. Now, make perfectly clear. The list of Ezekiel Elliott's supposed indiscretions right now rely on rumor. They are largely innocuous, and some of them are in the realm of accusation. Nevertheless, the list is getting long. Coming out of college, there was reportedly at the Combine a reputation for partying. There was the rumor of party drugs. There was the visit to the pot shop, which is innocuous.
I forgot about that.
And in fact, it reveals
Seattle,
it
right?
reveal a sense of curiosity. Anybody visiting Colorado or Washington right now, they'd be curious to see how this whole legalization thing is going down. But the list keeps getting longer. And of course, there is the domestic violence accusation, which the police at this point have cleared him of and dismissed. And now you have this, where his best friend is apparently arrested and looks like he could be charged with the felony of carrying a gun into a bar, essentially, or to a zone around a bar. But I want to be very clear. I think I've earned a reputation on this show, whether or not it has earned me esteem or been reviled for it, of pointing out that accusations are simply accusations, and they can be nothing more than that. And none of these incidents on their own are Ezekiel Elliott guilty of, nor do they inform each other. Just because you have a rumor about one doesn't mean you're guilty of another. That being said, I do, as any logical human being does, see the not infallible maxim of where there's smoke, there's fire. And Jerry Jones has said there is a pattern of behavior that he is concerned about. Concern, Max, is the word. I would simply want to know with Zeke, as one of my players, hey man, we got this thing between the lines, we on the right track, because every once in a while it looks like we're veering into the shoulder, and we want to have a long-term relationship together, and I just want to make sure everything we're doing here is on the up and up.
Yeah, look, smoke, fire. That's why people would be concerned right now. And sure, and there's some wisdom to that. There's a reason it's a cliche. In Zeke's case, I do think some of this is exaggerated because of the just amount of media nowadays. And you could argue, look, there's the same amount of media for everyone, although he's the running back, Rookie of the Year running back for the Dallas Cowboys MVP candidate. It's a little bit different. But still, why does this keep happening to him if it's happening to him and he's not the catalyst ever, or there's something about him that's not attracting this? It's not happening to others. Okay, that's a fair point. I would, again, point to his position as a media star, given the team he plays for, the position he plays for, his level of production,
The Cowboys always garners such extra attention, yeah.
In the old days, a lot of this stuff would never see the light of day. It would not, there wasn't as much media. Now, for the Cowboys, some of this stuff would still come out, and it used to. Ask Michael Irvin about it, right? So he might have a little reputation anyway. But I largely agree with Will. Until something is substantiated where there is wrongdoing on his part, I can't hold him accountable for the fact that his friend made a mistake, or that he went where it's legal to a drug spot, even if it's not for medicinal purposes. Like, you could argue, well, opiates are used in football for pain tolerance. What about marijuana? No, even if it's just recreational. It wouldn't bother me much if it was
curiosity.
Even if it was just right,
just
sure.
going doesn't mean you bought it.
Absolutely.
Buying it doesn't mean you used it.
Right, absolutely. So the smoke fire thing does hold up, but it is unfair to let all this stuff add up until something is substantiated.
Stephen A?
Well, that's why I'm not concerned. And that's why I think it's an absolute travesty we're even having this discussion, because ultimately, while we are sitting here talking about how we're not going to convict him or anything like that, essentially his name is on national television because, and let's highlight this. Let's highlight the particulars of this. One of his boys gets busted, for doing something that he wasn't supposed to do. He says he's a friend of Ezekiel, which means that Ezekiel, correct me if I'm wrong, Will, was he even in the vicinity? Was he with the guy?
He was.
At all?
He was. He was in the bar.
He was in
the
so
bar.
he says, well, he's in a bar, I'm a friend of his, and because he's in a bar and that's a friend of his, now he gets implicated. All I'm saying is that these kind of things are the kind of things that we have to be careful of, because we live in a society where it cherry picks who to dismiss these kind of things about and who to use it against as fodder to continue to sully their name, their character, or what have you in some way. Now, far be it for me to come to the defense of a Dallas Cowboy. Please don't get me started with that. But this is one of those situations where I think it calls for. Ezekiel Elliott was accused of something. It was dropped by the police. The NFL supposedly dropped it, and then they decided to revisit the situation, and they're still investigating, having no regard for how it could potentially impugn his integrity or his reputation when we don't appear to have any proof to sit up here and deal with the man. You've got the minor traffic incident. Certainly going to the weed spot in Seattle, that was dumb on his part. I laughed about that because I expect that from a Dallas Cowboy. I'm just going to admit it. I just expect that from a Dallas Cowboy. But when it comes to something like this, just imagine that you're out with your friend, your boy does something stupid, and he's like, I'm his boy, I'm with him, and because you're a Dallas Cowboy is the only reason it's news. I understand it happens. I get it. I can't sit up there and summarily dismiss the fact that, Will Kane is concerned and Max Kellerman is concerned because where there's smoke, there's potentially fire. I'm just saying it's something inherently unfair about it. If you don't have anything on the guy, and we're talking about him on national television, it's just unfortunate. That's all I'm saying.
Well, let me counter you with this. Okay, first of all, concern is different than judgment. Judgment is different than condemnation. All of those things are different. Hopefully we can have this conversation in a responsible way that A, doesn't condemn him, B, doesn't even judge him, and certainly doesn't sully his name. But how about this for concern, Stephen A? The NFL doesn't share our high burden of proof on condemnation, whether or not it's the NFL's drug abuse policy entering substance 1 or this long domestic violence investigation that has gone on for Ezekiel Elliott. If you think all of these things that are completely unrelated don't play into the NFL's investigation, then we're just putting on blinders, because I can tell you they look at every single one of these things, they decide to prolong the investigation, they look deeper. There was even, just to be clear, Stephen A., back in September, there was, during the domestic violence investigation, there was a report that Ezekiel Elliott had texted this girl about whether or not he was going to pass a drug test. I
did not see that. I did not know that.
Well, it doesn't matter, because it doesn't mean he was guilty. It doesn't mean he used drugs. But the point is this. The NFL can use that. You don't have to test positive for drugs to be put into the drug policy program. You don't have to. They can use every single one of these extraneous things unfairly, and that, my friend, is cause for concern.
That may be cause for concern, but let's put the concern where it is. How come there isn't cause and concern for how the NFL does business?
Absolutely.
So what I'm saying to you is that when we bring up the points that you just made, then the focal point may very well should be on the NFL instead of the individual player that we're talking about here.
Except Stephen A., the smoke fire issue comes down to this. Essentially what we're all talking about is the kind of judgment that Ezekiel Elliott is exercising. And it comes out in different ways. Even the fact that, and each one in and of itself may be unfair, that there are DV allegations. Why are you in a position where something like that could happen? That they see you outside of a legal weed spot. Maybe you're allowed to do it, but maybe it's not such a good look. That your best friend or a close friend thinks it's okay, is exercising the kind of judgment.
That's the biggest concern to me, the company you keep potentially getting you in trouble.
So the big picture, and to your point, Will, about concern is what kind of general judgment are you exercising, considering you're a public-facing person in a high-profile position? And the NFL would like those kind of players to internalize their values as it relates to their business. Stay totally out of any situation that could bring any negative publicity to you at all. And the fact that he has now been in that situation fairly or unfairly, whether it's substantiated eventually or not, in at least 3 different incidences is why I believe Cowboys fans like Will Kane are concerned.
Well, I want to make sure about one thing with Stephen A. I don't want my years age 20 to 24 poured over and judged on rumor and innuendo. I doubt that you do either, or Max for that matter, or Molly for that matter. We all do things that veer on the shoulders of the road, but the concern is only this, not that Ezekiel Elliott's a bad guy, not that he's even guilty of anything, just making sure. Are you keeping it between the lines? Because you're important to us, you're important to your family, you're important to a lot of people. Are we on the straight and narrow?
Of course. Yeah, he has so much talent, and you don't want to see anything derail him from potentially winning a championship for those Dallas Cowboys, Stephen A. Will, sticking with us. If you